All right, we are live. Hey everyone, welcome to the AI SEO Insider podcast. I'm Chris Rolfe, an AI and SEO expert and the founder of Bolder SEO Marketing, an AI SEO agency. This podcast cuts through the AI hype and features people getting real results. If you're a marketing professional, business owner, SEO expert, or agency owner trying to figure out how AI fits into your strategy, you're in the right place. My guests and I talk about implementations, results, and practical tactics you can use immediately. Today, super excited. I'm talking with Brett Schklar. And Brett, I'm probably butchering your name. How do you say your last name?
No, you did it good. You've now officially been Schklarred for life.
Sweet. Awesome. Brett, you're the CEO of Grow Powered, the
Uh-huh.
leading interim CMO group helping B2B companies scale their marketing with fractional leadership. Brett also spoke at DigiMarcon in Denver a couple of weeks ago on a very timely topic, return on AI, why marketers are winning the AI race. Before I forget, we're hosting a complimentary online AI, SEO, and GEO online summit on December 9th. We'll discuss how to master the future of search. I have world-class guests that will join me at this free online summit. I'll include the link below in the description field in this YouTube video or wherever you listen to this podcast. Brett, that was my sales pitch. Brett, welcome to the AI SEO Insider podcast. Before we dive in, tell us a bit about yourself and Grow Powered.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'll start out that saying that I was born as a child. No, we're not going to go that far back. But the important thing is that I understand and have learned a lot about not only marketing, but what people perceive marketing as. And I early on had started an agency focused on B2B technology companies called Market Creation Group. And I started it in 2005 and then sold it in 2019, actually a fun and decent exit to a private equity firm. So I learned a lot about marketing and how to really serve our clients well from then. But after I sold that and tried to figure out what I wanted to be next when I grew up, I really identified that a lot of people were looking for and interested in the world of fractional and interim CMOs for a variety of reasons, either to put somebody in place while somebody might be out on leave, or there's a transition taking place and people wanted to take their time to find the perfect full-time candidate, or just for various reasons they just weren't big enough for a full-time CMO but needed that CMO-like thinking. And so I started Grow Powered right around the end of 2020, early 2021. And we are now at 30 fractional CMOs that are part of the team. And we work across 57 different clients.
Awesome. And the website is growpowered.com. Also, we're going to put that below into the description field section of this YouTube video. All right, Brett, let's get into it. What stuck with me from one of the things that stuck with me from your presentation at DigiMarcon, you said 147 movies have conditioned us to fear AI since 1927. So I've been doing SEO for nearly 30 years, and I'm watching businesses freeze up right now when they should be moving fast. What's the actual difference between CEOs who are overcoming that fear versus those who are stuck in analysis paralysis?
Yeah, so you hit it on the head. We have been conditioned to fear AI because of Hollywood, and as you mentioned, in 1927, the first movie that ever really introduced humans to the concept of AI was a movie called Metropolis. And since then, we've got James Cameron who brought us the Terminator and all those other Terminators and the different Matrix movies. And, again, a total of about 147 movies have come out to scare the crap out of us when it comes to AI. So then you get into the business world and you say, okay, what does that really look like? Well, it's interesting. I do a lot of analysis about what people say about AI, what people versus what people do about AI. And really interesting because a majority of the larger tech firms, and we're kind of getting off topic, but I think this is interesting and something that I connected a lot of dots with recently. But a lot of tech companies are talking about how they're using AI, how they're, augmenting staff with AI, or they're reducing, headcount because of AI. And the press releases and the newscasts with the CEOs or the head of HR is all over the place. But you know where they're not talking about their use of AI is in their annual and their quarterly reports. Nothing is being said about how AI is helping be more efficient. So I think it's a lot of hype right now that it's replacing people. But the big thing that I see, and back to your question about sort of CEO's perception and the fear, there is a lot of pressure on CEOs, especially tech companies, but everywhere, to be looking at, how AI can be, helping or augmenting. And what I've found is the companies that are successful in implementing and deploying AI initiatives, which by the way, MIT came out with a report recently that said that 95% of all generative AI pilots are failing.
What? Wow.
95% of all generative AI pilots are failing. And it's a no duh event for me. It's a nothing burger of data for me because I see it all the time. CEOs are being pushed into AI, whether it's by board of directors or investors or peer pressure of some kind. They're not implementing really solid training for how to think about, how to prompt, how to, which types of AI solutions are a good fit for quick fixes versus which ones are more for long-term sustainable, gains. And so everybody's just sort of being thrown into the fire. They're getting way ahead of their skis. That's a term we use here
Yeah.
in Colorado. When you think you're a better skier than you actually are, next thing you know is you're flopping and doing something called a yard sale, where you basically just, splat into the snow when you're not quite as good at skiing as you should be. And so I think we're running into a lot of that, getting ahead of our skis. Where I am seeing a lot of success in deployments is when companies are embracing the fear of AI. They're embracing the fact that employees are scared that they're going to be replaced. The managers and the leaders are embracing the fact that they think that some of their employees might know a lot more about AI than they do. And then the CEOs are embracing the fact that there is a lot of unknown and there's going to be a lot of of um, of stuff left on the side of the road of AI initiatives that are tried and failed. And that spirit of experimentation, that spirit of being very agile, when that's there, we're seeing that fear take a backseat to, better productivity, to starting to see those returns on AI that we talked about.
Awesome. From speaking very often at conferences, what I noticed, and please confirm or deny if I'm wrong. Well, so what I noticed is smaller companies like our size, were a little bit less than 20 people, were so agile, right?
Mhm.
Right after ChatGPT came out, I spent 6 days prompt engineering, and I took those prompts to my business partner, our COO, who's technical, ran a web design agency for 20 years. And I said, hey, Daniel, build me an AI agent that does this, right? And, he created that thing in, I think, less than a week. And sadly, right after we launched our agent, BSM Copilot, we were able to let go of 3 people because we were able to automate those positions away. And now that work is actually getting done better, faster, less expensive.
Mhm.
Is that what you see out there? Like I was so agile again, like sorry, this week we're working on creating all these AI bodies for every employee, every function that we do. We're having an AI, right?
Yep.
And I already see in my head our productivity is going to go up so dramatically. Is that correct? What I'm seeing, my assumption here?
Gosh, you are not only are you correct, but you're hitting on something that I, train my team to do when we come into an engagement and we're looking at ways to, figure out the expenses and figure out the investments and where they need to be, investing more. We hit a lot of resistance with SEO companies.
Yeah.
I think it's less so now, but a lot of resistance when we brought up the term GEO or AEO. The response was, well, it's all the same as SEO. So as long as we keep doing the same SEO principles, we'll be fine. And then I go back and I say, well, okay, well, here's been the monthly invoice that you've sent for the last, year or so. And let's just say for round numbers, it's $5,000 a month. And then I go and I say, well, are you using AI in your business as an SEO company? And initially it was no, 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 we don't use AI. Like, don't be silly. We would not use AI. Humans do it better. And I would go back and I would have my CMOs go back and challenge that and say, well, if this thing can do all these things and can make things more efficient and actually help write better SEO and help target towards AEO or GEO, what is um why aren't we, looking at using AI? Number one. And number two is if you as an SEO company are using AI a lot more, which kudos that you are, I'm guessing that your efficiency is a lot better. And so therefore, you have an opportunity, SEO company, to actually pass those savings on to the clients and actually establish a much better relationship with your clients saying, look, we're partners and I found a lot of efficiencies and I want to pass those savings on to you. So I am seeing that. I am probably the bad guy or the villain, unfortunately, saying that when we're looking at budgets, when we're looking at companies that are whether they're doing a good job or not, are they using AI to help them build a more effective company? And then also, are they being a good partner to their clients and helping pass those savings along? But I am seeing, back to your point, I am seeing the conversation, and that's where we're coaching. Because I do have a second business as well that I call AI First Leadership. And it's mostly me and a couple of virtual assistants and about 16 different AI agents that we use to help companies manage the process of AI adoption. And in that realm, what we are seeing is exactly what you're doing is looking at all of the functions that need to take place and how can we optimize and how can we have things that are automated using AI agents and make things much more efficient. An example I love to give is, and you might remember this from my talk, but I talked about the CEO of Fiverr, right? The company that, $5 you can get a logo, $100 you can get a landing page, and for, $300 you can get an entire website. And the CEO said something that I think is what we're all starting to adopt now, which is, a lot of the easy tasks, a lot of the simple tasks and simple activities, they're getting automated and they're wiping out the need for the people that do the simple, repetitive things. But the hard tasks are now becoming the easy tasks. And that's where we can start becoming better thinkers for our clients. We can become better thinkers for our employers. We can become better thinkers for our teams. But then the last thing he said was, the other thing that's really going on here is that with generative AI, the tasks that we thought were impossible to do, even with a small team, are not only possible, but doable. And in my mind, that means that there is a new leveling of competitive capability. It's not in the number of people that you have. And like you said, you've got 20 people. I bet you, I guarantee you, you can outflank companies that are 100 employees, 200 employees, 500 employees, and you could probably grow faster than them and steal their mind share which translates into stealing their market share overnight because you are adaptive, you are agile, and you're willing to introduce new things, even if they're a little bit risky.
Completely agree. So luckily, as I've been doing this for 30 years, this AI SEO thing, right? I was one of the early adopters. Like 2 months after ChatGPT launched, I gave a webinar for a European language association on how AI is going to impact global digital marketing, multilingual marketing, right? So I went online YouTube and I watched, I think, 120 hours of what's available. And then it was like, oh, I get it. Yeah, we're going to be an AI SEO agency. We're going to completely change our business model, right? That's when I did the prompt engineering, like, hey, let's do this, right? So I completely agree with you. I think this is a tremendous opportunity for smaller agencies, like younger people, older people like us, right? I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a gold mine, and I think we struck gold. People that think like us, I mean, the sky is the limit. Every day I get up, I cannot wait to get up. I'm so excited. I have so many ideas oh my God, what's next, right?
Yeah.
How do you, are you the same? Like, how do you deal with this? I mean,
Oh man, I tell you, I am very much the same where I get
yeah,
excited. First of all, I've probably put somewhere around the same amount of hours into YouTube as you have to sort of see the new tips, the new tricks, the new hacks.
yeah,
When you see ChatGPT 5 come out, or you see something within Copilot, or you see Nano Bananas come out from,
yeah.
Google, all of a sudden you're wanting to play with that a little bit. Or even what is the opportunity using the Sora social app, to help businesses really create a new channel of connectivity to their intended target customer base. Um, I think that we, as of course, you and I are both business leaders, but we're also, we have the adult side of us, which is the business leader. We've got the frosted side kid in us, which is the marketers.
Yeah.
Um, and marketers are, and that was kind of the point of my talk where you and I got to spend some time together. The point of my talk was that marketers are the leaders of this, and it's this. My rallying cry was, don't waste this big opportunity you've got as a marketer, as a way that you think. Marketers tend to think outside the box. Marketers tend to want to be able to push things. Marketers tend to be more willing to take risks. And I see that when I look at the return on AI department by department. And Chris, I'll send you the slide that sort of shows this so
Mhm.
that we could share. But we've got HR being at about 1.5x as far as productivity gains from AI. Operations in general across a lot of different industries, 1.4x. Sales at 1.9x, and that's because a lot of the tools that have the AI built into it. But then you've got marketing at the top of the stack at 2.8 times productivity because of deployment of generative AI. So it's the marketing brain, it's that frosted side kid in us that really gets to adopt it and embrace it. Back to another, I want to sort of circle back for a second because we're talking about the CEOs and the organizations today, and I've been working with a lot of clients on AI adoption. There's one thing that I see time and time again, that when it happens, I know I have failed in helping a company with AI adoption. And it's when the CEO says, uh, go work with my IT department on
Yeah.
this. And there is no, there's no, I don't have an issue with IT departments. I don't have issue with IT people. I have issue with the CEOs that think that this is a technology project. It is the world's biggest transformation engine we have ever seen. And the job of the IT department is to mitigate risk. The job of the IT department is to develop control and stability within an organization. And AI is kind of the antichrist of that, right? AI is all about experimentation, all about trying new things, all about trying to find the ways to lever growth, with the existing resources you've got, or dialing back resources. So when I have a CEO say, go talk to my IT department, first thing I say is, you didn't read my book. You didn't hear my guidance. The second thing I say is, that sounds good. We're just going to go ahead and mark this as a failure.
That was actually, so that was one of my questions. That was one of the things that really stood out, which to me it totally made sense, right? Is that a certain size of company that where they send you to the IT department, and then like how do you deal with it? How do you, let's say you agree to deal with the IT, like what do you do? Do you actually accept that challenge, and how do you manage that challenge, and does it succeed?
I've had it depends on the IT person,
Yeah.
and the CEO. So a lot a lot of times it feels like I'm being, we're playing the game of hot potato. So the CEO will say, well, this is a very important initiative to us. Our IT person's been doing a lot of research. I want you to go, spend some time with our IT person. So I will. And I'll find out, is this an IT person by process, or is this more of a technology person that's looking for innovation? And so whether, regardless of their title, I think of them as IT versus technology. When the technology person's involved, they tend to want to push back to the CEO to make sure that the CEO is involved and that he or she is not only in support of this, but is one of the champions that helps communicate the mission across the entire company. And that's great. When it's an IT person and they're really saying, well, we have to minimize our risk and really just take a controlled stance, or let's just do full stop on everything AI until we have 100% control of it. That's when I say this is a time to either give a complete refund, or just, pause things until something different can happen.
Okay, so actually, so your presentation and Lisa Adams,
Mhm.
she is actually also local here. She's
Yeah.
in Lafayette, man. So those two presentations for me was like the biggest takeaway from Digimarca. It's actually changed. Like I met with my business partner the next day. I'm like, hey, we're behind. We actually need to do more right now. So honestly, for me, it was like the absolute like wake up call. So I'm very thankful that we connected. Do you see that sense of urgency? I mean, are you guys doing really well? I mean, I see the need 100%, right? Like how is that going for you guys right now?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's gone better than I thought it would as
Yeah,
far as growth and opportunities. Um, and part of that is, and by the way, I love Lisa Adams. She and
yeah.
I have collaborated before, with my marketing agency. She was actually one of my clients for a while. And then when she left, she actually did some consulting work under my business for a while. So I love Lisa. And I think that the work that she has done in the last 2 or 3 years around helping marketers gain a confidence around AI is just, not only is it second to none, but I think we're all very lucky to have her in our backyard here in Colorado. Um, and I apologize. I kind of forgot your question because I was, so excited that Lisa was one of the
I
top.
mean, do you see people like me that, really have freaked out? Like we think we're behind already. I think we're doing well. I think we're way ahead of the curve. But
Yeah.
how is business going for you guys right now? Are people getting it? Are they reaching out to you?
Yeah. Yeah. So we're getting a lot of traction. We're getting a lot of response. I launched a book in July.
Hmm.
It was called AI Without the BS, the CEO's playbook for actually getting AI right. And the conversation there is not about a technology, but more about how do you get organizational readiness. And so I believe what people are responding to, and the reason why I think we're getting a lot of good activity that we hopefully, will turn into good results, is we're talking about this as shifting the mindset of the organization. One of the key concepts in the book is AIQ. So how do you get the AI IQ up for every single employee in organization? And it doesn't matter if they're a truck driver, it doesn't matter if they are a factory line worker, or if they're a corporate person sitting in an office in front of a computer all the time. the more comfort and the more confidence that the entire set of individuals that make up a company can have, the more likely they are to adopt new innovation more quickly. And so the reason why I think we're seeing success on our part is we help deploy the framework to build the AIQ, or the AI IQ of the organization, number one. And then number two is we actually help companies figure out who is generation AI. The people that are really, really doubling down on this understand how to prompt, understand how to ask questions really well, and typically it's younger, it's the younger generation, but it can also be, the people like us who are starting to show the silvers in our hair. But it's a mindset of, are you willing to think about solving problems in an AI first kind of way, or are you able to ask much better questions to the generative AI tools, or not feel limited in the mindset of what generative AI tools can do for you? So because we focus on AIQ, which helps the organization, up their AI game, and we focus on helping find generation AI employees, whether they're internal or external, I think is having a positive impact. And our customer base, which are largely PE-backed companies, companies are a couple hundred employees to, a couple of thousand, or tens of thousands of employees. Um, we're really starting to see a lot of response, especially because one of the first things we do is we help build either a center of excellence with a small team of people from inside, cross departmental team, or we call it a center of excellence, or we call it the steering committee. But really getting a handful of people, no less than three, no more than about six, to help build the excitement, energy, and mental infrastructure to take on any AI and to embrace AI to help solve bigger problems.
So we now, as part of our SEO services offerings, we're now implementing AI at our customers, such as, virtual DEMs, right? Virtual bodies, because they need it, because we need it to help them.
Mhm.
Um, let me take a step back. So you advocate training LLMs on company specific expertise. As I just mentioned, I personally, I couldn't live without having access to virtual Chris anymore. Just sits on top of one of these language models, right? It's an AI trained on my 30 years of experience that responds in my voice. But here's my concern. EEAT, experience, expertise, authoritativeness, trustworthiness. Like one of the most important ranking signals now in the age of AI requires human expertise, not AI outputs, right? It's a fine line. Where's the line between efficiency and authenticity? Between efficiency and authenticity. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, it's funny you mention that. As I mentioned, and as I do a lot of public speaking.
Yeah.
And one of the recent things I did was I ran a session to a group of about 100 speakers on, you know, how to use AI to help you with your speaking business. And the number one thing I think that we have to do is train exactly what you said. You have spent so much time and invest a lot of your time and a lot of your data in training, AI Chris to think like you, to decide like you, to make things be, to support your voice and your vision. The one thing, if you sort of, said, hey, how can we, make sure that we're maintaining that authenticity, that, authority, is you never let anything go out the door unless you have taken a look at it. So, it's the I have this, 10-step roadmap I use in AI adoption with clients. And number two is, or sorry, number nine, so at the other end of the next to last, is trust but verify. And that is, and that's an old saying from the internet security days, but It's basically, you know, trust it to a point. But when it comes time to bring something live or to send that important email or to build a presentation for you, you still have to put your own eyeballs and your own thought process into it, irregardless of how much you've trained your, LLM.
So I don't know if you were there for my presentation. Basically, what I did, so we trained virtual Chris. That thing knows more than I do, right? Because it has all the information wherever I speak, etc., loaded into it. It has all the information wherever I speak, etc., loaded into it. Then
Mm,
I spent 2 days prompt engineering on how to take a transcript like the one that we're creating now, right? Or a sales call transcript, and it turns that into a blog post article for very specific keywords. There's a lot of other companies out there that have exactly the same problems, right? And obviously, I'm an SEO expert, right? So I tell it, hey, make sure it adheres to this, 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 and this. I get content to rank in less than 24 hours on page one. 100% AI generated. Well, I still go through the content, edit it, make tweaks here and there. But it is AI generated by Virtual Chris, but it is like created by me.
yeah.
So it's so powerful, right?
Yeah.
It's so extremely powerful.
I mean, I'll tell you, like, so people ask me, you know, when you write a book about AI, they ask you, well, did you use AI to write your book? And I said, well, sort of. Here's what I did. I have uploaded years and years and years of my content. Every time I go and speak, I either record it on video or I record it using that Plod note pen
Yeah.
device or some other recording device. And so I have trained my LLM with similar to you, 30-ish years of me. And then, the more recent in the last 18 months where I've been doing, a lot of speaking, especially to CEO groups, I have when I went to sit down to write my book, I basically said, you have all this information. Here's what I'm looking to do. I want to speak to CEOs and business leaders, which means I want to make it very simple and very quick to read because they have so much, excuse me, so much other things going on in their lives. So let's write it at a sixth grade reading level because CEOs will actually, take the time to read it if it's a quick read. Um, then I said, here's the outline I want to have. Here's the key takeaways of each chapter I want to have. Help me write this. And I said, I want you to be the world's greatest ghostwriter for helping people, speak to CEOs. And it helped me. And it did a great job of it. And then I kept rewriting and rewriting and editing it. Then I went to a different an AI GPT, and this one was trained to be the world's greatest book publisher. And I said, okay, now that we have the book and we have the draft, I want you to read it and tell me what's going to make it really popular. And so then it suggested a lot of things. And so I took the input from the two different AI agents I was using to put it all together.
Yeah, so I think a very good point that you're making here. I mean, this stuff is not rocket science. It's not overly complicated, right? I'm not extremely technical, nor am I the smartest person, in this space. But it's totally doable, right? And I think a lot of people are scared by AI, what we initially talked about at the beginning of this. So I think hopefully a good takeaway for people out here is like just like show up first, right? Get something going. It really is not that hard. Let's already running out of time here, but I have so many more questions. Let me quickly take a look. Okay, why don't we quickly talk about so you in your presentation you mentioned tracking pipeline velocity and deal closure rates as new marketing metrics.
Yeah.
So I love this because we've seen clients where traffic decreased, right? All the answers are now in AI overviews, but conversions went actually up. AI
Yeah.
overviews filter out tire kickers.
Yeah.
How are you getting CFOs to embrace these velocity metrics instead of traditional MQL, SQL funnels?
Yeah. So it's and it's funny that you mentioned the CFOs because I've recently had a couple of conversations with the CFOs who tend to have the least amount of confidence in marketing departments anyway.
Yeah.
And so I come in less of an advisor and more of a, a coach or a corporate therapist, what it feels like a lot of times. And I'm sure you probably feel the same
Yeah.
too. And I say, hey, we have a once in a lifetime opportunity to relook at what success looks like. And let's begin with the end in mind. Let's take your ICPs, your personas, the people who are buying, which by the way, CFOs don't really know what an ICP or a persona is, and that's okay. It's not their job. But we say, let's start with the end in mind. And the reason why we built SQLs and the reason why we built MQLs is actually because of the fact that, you know, I just actually did a blog or a YouTube video on this. I'd love to send your way. But I talked about the fact that, you know, marketing, originally was TV ads and it was, how much of a microphone you have to get the word out about your company or your brand. But then we moved into the world of digital marketing. And what everybody loved was marketing was really defined down to, especially to CFOs, as the one or two metrics that can be measured. And while a lot of it can be measured, there's a lot of things that we should be measuring that we couldn't before. And so when I change the dynamics with a CFO to say, let's think about this. The ultimate goal is to get market share for a company, to increase market share, whether it's 1% to 2% or 30% to 31%. The goal of any business is to increase the market share as efficiently as possible. And in today's world of marketing, market share directly follows mind share. So how do we start to track mind share more than MQLs and SQLs? Because if we're tracking MQLs and SQLs too closely, we're missing the point of being in where the conversations are with prospects and customers. And if the customers are on Reddit, great, then it's an ideal playground for AEO or GEO. If the customers are in different channels on some community channels within Slack, then we need to be there. But we need to make sure that we're measuring based on what the customer's perception of a brand or a company is, instead of our own internal vanity metrics of SQLs and MQLs, which can lead us in the wrong direction. So when I talk with CFOs about that, I get some, sometimes it looks like, it feels like I just said that you should fart in church. But then sometimes I get the response of interesting. So MQLs and SQLs are our own metrics, not really the market metrics. So how do we rewire it to really track the market's metrics of our target customers versus our own? And then we can really dive into how AI can help accelerate that velocity and really tracking where the true lead generation activity should start versus the company's own perception of it.
Yeah. So on that topic, your reinvent roles framework, elevating marketers from executors to strategists, is exactly what happened to us, right? But when I hire now, I'm looking for entirely different skills than like less than like 3 years ago. What should marketing leaders be hiring for in this AI first era? How is that changing?
Yeah. So a couple of things, and I love, I love hearing that's what happened for you and the idea of reinventing the roles. I think that the job description, I honestly, I think generation AI changes how we actually go trying to find, great resources to begin with. Um, I think that the world, the people that you want to find, they're not going to be on Indeed. They're not going to be on LinkedIn. They're not going to be on ZipRecruiter. You're going to find them through TikTok, through Instagram, through Reddit. And they're the ones that have a pretty big voice and a pretty big conversation in those channels. So I think find the people who have a good voice and a good following, And you're going to find people that know how to grow audiences, which is really important today. And by the way, that's just as much about AI as it is about really, embracing the fact that we live in a social media world where social media is the way that people are identifying and learning about brands. So that's one thing. The second thing is you got to put them through the test of not just can they do marketing, but are they really good problem solvers? And do they know how to ask great questions, which will turn them into incredible prompters, which means that they can actually do a lot more, excuse me, than just about anybody else, beforehand.
So we, I am like the last person that gets to interview people, right? They go through other stages before. At that point, I don't think I ever asked for, if they have a GPA or like what is the GPA or anything like that. To me, it's just like hands on. Okay, explain to me, how do you do this? What kind of prompt engineering do you do? It's just hands on experience. I'm actually make them show me right there. It's like share your screen, show
Yep.
me. And
Yep.
that to me, that's proof in the pudding. And I think that hiring or landing jobs in this AI era is going to be completely different than 2, 3, 4 years ago. So,
Very much so. And
uh,
hopefully when you're
yeah,
looking at people and having them share their screen, you're also seeing that they have a long list of chat history,
yeah,
which proves that they're actually using this on a very regular basis.
absolutely, absolutely. That's a good tip.
Yeah.
Right, so let's we're already a little bit over time here. One more question. So but you talked to, I guess, about 1,400 plus CEOs about AI adoption. What's the single biggest misconception they have about AI in marketing that's actually holding them back from getting real return on AI?
They think that this is a bubble that's gonna burst, and I don't mean that from a stock market
Yeah,
perspective. I mean that from a technology perspective, that they feel like there's been a lot of overhype, and they're looking for the Gartner Magic Quadrant of, we've reached the peak of inflated expectations, but we're not even there yet. So, for me, it is that they think that this is something that will settle down soon or will calm down soon, and I think that's the absolute wrong way to look at it. So that's what I think is holding back most CEOs.
awesome. Brett, this has been incredibly valuable. Are you open for business? Who do you like to work with? And then where can people find you and grow powered if they want to learn more about implementing AI without the BS?
Yeah, thank you. So, first of all, check out my book. It's pretty cheap. I think it's like $14 on Amazon, or, you can download the Kindle edition, AI Without the BS. Funny story. There was somebody else that just launched a book called AI Without the BS, and I had that one taken off of Amazon for obvious reasons.
Nice.
Um, but that one can give you a good feel for my thought process and the procedures that I'm building for companies. And if that aligns, great, let's talk. Brett at growpowered.com. Couldn't be any more simple than that. Just Brett at growpowered.com. And then I'm always on LinkedIn, for more time than I should be each day. So if you want to reach out to me, hit me up there. Those are the best ways to get a hold of me. As far as the companies I work with, I really like to work with mid-market companies. Not too big, not too small, just right. Somewhere between like maybe 50 plus employees, all the way up to 25 to 30,000 employees. Putting a lot of processes in place, putting a steering committee in place, and then helping them really elevate the comfort, confidence, and knowledge of generative AI as a company, not just as some single initiative.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brett. Well, again, Chris Rolfe here, AI SEO expert. You're listening to the AI SEO Insider, my podcast, where we share, I think, really cool information. Thanks so much for listening. Subscribe, smash that subscribe button there. And then, yeah, join us again next time. Brett, thank you so much. I had a blast talking with you.
Thank you, Chris. I
Thank
did
you.
too.